This is the story of four sisters. The eldest sister, Zainab, was only 22 years old, but the hardships of life had made her wiser than the elderly. Her home was a small house with mud walls, containing only an old charpai cot, 2 earthen pots and a tiny roof. Once, this house was a sanctuary of love, but now it had become a shelter of darkness. Everything changed in just 1 month. First Abu, father, passed away, then Ami, mother. Ami had held things together for a while, but when her shadow too was gone, only Zainab and her 3 younger sisters remained. The youngest, Noor, was only 6 years old and would cry for Ami all night. Amina and Syra were just 10 and 12, still too young to understand the ways of the world. Zainab had only 2 choices: either give up and surrender to helplessness or become strong and stand like a wall for her sisters. She chose the latter. Zainab had hoped people would support and praise her, but the world sees such struggles as weakness. When her parents were alive, no one said anything, but as soon as they were gone, the villagers began taunting her. 3 girls and a lone sister? How will this house survive? Girls are only meant to go to another's home. Zainab, how will you manage? Get married, someone will support you. Otherwise, it's hard for a girl to survive alone. Their words pierced her heart like sharp arrows, but Zainab remained silent. One day, Chaudhry Ala-Dida, the richest man in the village, came to her house. Seeing Zainab alone, helpless, and without support, his wicked gaze fell upon her honor. He smirked and said, "Girls need someone's support. Zainab, if you want, you can work in my mansion." Zainab sensed the evil glint in his eyes and refused in fear. Now only one path remained: hard work. Zainab made a decision. She would never beg before anyone. Before dawn, she would leave her sleeping sisters and go out searching for work. She went door to door, rolling dough in some houses, washing clothes in others, stitching garments where she could. Whatever work she found, she did without complaint. Sometimes she earned just 1 roti, sometimes only water, but she never stopped thanking Allah. One day an old woman said to her, "Child, why do you work so hard? Girls are a burden, they should rely on someone else." Zainab only smiled, but inside, an ocean of pain raged. One evening, after a long day of labor, Zainab returned home to find Noor crying, "Baji, I'm hungry." Zainab had only 1 roti left. She gave it to her sisters and went to bed without eating. That night she couldn't sleep. One question haunted her: will my hard work ever bear fruit? But she had made up her mind. No matter what, she would remain a shield for her sisters. Little did she know that the very sisters she loved more than her own life would one day break her heart. Years went by. Amina, Syra, and Noor, who were once innocent little girls, had now grown up. Noor, now 16, had become a beautiful young girl, always laughing and playing. Syra, 18, was sharp-tongued and stubborn, always insisting on having her way. Amina, now 20, was the most sensible but had also become more worldly wise. Zainab still played the role of their mother. She woke up early to make rotis for them, stitched their clothes, and fulfilled their small wishes. She never once thought about her own life. Her world revolved around her sisters. But as time passed, their attitudes changed. The sisters who once couldn't live without Zainab now began finding faults in everything she did. "Why don't you ever wear new clothes? Why are you always covered in that old black burqa?" Noor would tease. "You always stop us from doing things, we're not little kids anymore." Syra would snap. One day Amina angrily said, "We don't need you. Stop controlling us all the time." Zainab stayed silent, but a strange sorrow began growing in her heart. The sisters who were her life were now drifting away. Zainab could sense that her sisters wouldn't stay in this house much longer. People had started talking about marriage proposals. But there was one problem: money. A wedding isn't just about clothes and jewelry, it's about dignity. Zainab had dignity but no money. So she worked even harder, stitching clothes for village women, making bangles by hand, even laboring at the grocery store. Chaudhry Ala-Dida came again. "Zainab, your sisters are grown now. How will you arrange their weddings alone? I can help." But Zainab refused once more. She had decided, no matter how difficult, she would marry her sisters off with respect. First, Amina got married. Then Syra. And finally, Noor left for her in-laws' house. On the wedding day, Zainab didn't even apply henna. She just kept watching her sisters' smiles. Tears filled her eyes, but they were tears of happiness. "Now my sisters will be happy in their own homes," she thought. She didn't know that one day, these very sisters would turn away from her. After the weddings, Zainab was left alone. At first, her sisters visited daily, but slowly the visits became rare. If Zainab went to see them, they would make excuses. "We're busy today. We have guests. Come some other time." The sisters who once dropped everything for her now had no time. One day, Zainab went to Noor's house. Noor didn't even open the door. A maid came out and said, "Bibi says she can't meet you right now." Zainab's heart shattered. The sister she had raised like a daughter now avoided her. Amina and Syra only met her when they needed something. If Zainab visited, they would give her a cold smile. No warmth, no love. People would say, "Zainab, even your sisters don't recognize you now." What was the point of all that struggle? But Zainab never complained. She consoled herself, "If they are happy, I need nothing else." She didn't know that life had another twist in store. Zainab always found comfort in one thought. She had given her sisters a mother's love, a father's care. She had endured every hardship just to see them smile. But now, those very sisters had become strangers to her. At first they just distanced themselves. Then they began humiliating her. One day, Zainab visited Noor. Noor was laughing with her guests. When Zainab softly said, "Noor, I came to see you," Noor snapped, "Why do you come unannounced? At least ask first." Zainab was stunned. The sisters who once clung to her now asked for permission to meet. Amina, who once wore Zainab's sacrifices as a badge of honor, now said in front of her friends, "Oh, she's just a distant relative. She used to live with us, but now she's alone." Zainab's breath caught in her throat. She left without a word. Cyrus' mother-in-law once remarked, "Your elder sister came to see you, but you sent her away without even feeding her." Syra angrily replied, "She keeps coming. I don't understand what she even wants. Are we obligated to her?" When Zainab overheard this, her heart shattered. "After all I did, is this my reward?" But Allah's justice was coming. Noor's husband was seen with another woman. Her home was ruined. Amina's husband lost his job. They struggled to make ends meet. Cyrus' child fell severely ill and passed away. Her world collapsed. The sisters who had forgotten their sister's sacrifices were now tasting the bitterness of life. One day the three sisters met. Amina, with tears in her eyes, said, "Noor, I think we made a terrible mistake." Noor hung her head. "Yes. The one we thought was the weakest was actually the strongest." Syra, wiping her tears, whispered, "I miss Baji, but how can we face her now?" They cried, but now there was no one to wipe their tears. Zainab was still the same, the one who knew only how to love, not how to hold grudges. One day there was a knock on her door. When she opened it, she saw the same faces that had once abandoned her. Noor, Amina, and Syra stood before her, heads bowed, eyes filled with shame. "Baji, forgive us," Noor mumbled. Amina gathered courage and said, "We made a huge mistake. We never thanked you for all you did." Syra, completely broken, fell at Zainab's feet. "Baji, I lost my child. Now I understand. Only a sister can replace a mother. Please forgive me." Zainab listened quietly. A strange peace settled on her face. She placed her hand on their heads and said, "Allah knows His plans. If your sorrows were because my prayers were lacking, then I will pray again, may Allah ease your lives." Hearing this, the three sisters broke down. Today they finally understood. The one who loves the most also suffers the most. Time had changed everything. Noor's home was broken. Amina was lonely. Syra had lost her child. But the one thing they still had was Zainab's love. Zainab took a deep breath and looked at the sky. Tears filled her eyes, but inside there was peace. After a long loneliness, her own had returned to her. Allah had delivered justice. And so had Zainab.